You have a talk that focuses on something called Zero UI. What is that?
Zero UI is a term we came up with a few years back. It's really a provocative term. If you literally take it word for word, it means no user interface, but of course that's not what we're talking about. We're actually talking about moving away from screen-based interfaces to more intangible interfaces, which is being brought about by all the new types of technology we're starting to see emerge, such as sensors, haptics, and so on.
You mentioned sensors and that type of thing. What are the core developments that have gotten us to this point where we can even talk about something like Zero UI?
So, as I mentioned, these kind of sensing technologies, the kind of things that are allowing us to distribute our computers around our bodies and around our environments. So we're moving away from a monolithic experience, a single device, to a orchestration of devices all working together with us kind of at the center. And I think these kinds of technologies, as well as data analytics, like actually being able to do something with this torrent of data that we're capturing from the world, this is enabling this technology to really start happening.
So it's the combination of the sensors, the devices, and the data?
Yes.
Okay. Now we tend to look at the phrase getting beyond the screen or past the screen as a good thing. Are there any downsides to Zero UI?
Well, I think there are challenges to make it kind of workable. I think one of the issues we have is that we're very visually kind of centered. You know, our visual sense is the most important to us. So taking that away actually leaves us in some ways a bit more vulnerable to things going wrong. We can't see, you know, what is an error state in a haptic experience. We don't really know yet. So it's possible that we're setting ourselves a lot of design challenges that we don't know how to solve yet. But I think that for me, there isn't really necessarily a downside. It's about whether people want to adopt these kind of more ambient types of technologies.
Wearables, do you feel that they're simply a step along the line toward embeddables?
Well, it's interesting you pick up on that term, because I've actually talked about that extensively, and in fact I wrote a chapter for the emerging technology book around that. For me, that was a very kind of a speculative talk, but actually it was interesting today. Cory Doctorow talked about us living inside computers and computers living inside us, and I think that that's actually I think it is an evolutionary path. I think we already have machines inside us, pacemakers, artificial hips. As we miniaturize technology, I can only see it going in one direction, where we actually start to put computational devices inside us, even bioengineered devices and things like that. So I think it will happen. I don't think it will supersede wearables like before. It will always complement, it'll be additional to existing technology.
So the Fitbit I'm wearing right now will not necessarily be inside of my wrist?
Well, maybe there'll be a very tiny little sensor, but certainly, you know, people are working now on transfers that have circuitry in them, so you can actually apply it directly to your skin, and it'll be much more unobtrusive, and it'll do just the same, in fact even more kinds of sensing than a current, you know, wearable can do.
What's the single biggest design issue that you're encountering right now?
I think right now we're at a kind of inflection point. We're moving into a third wave. You know, the Internet of Things, it's been dubbed by the general populace, let's say, but or at least technologists, and I think that whenever you get to an inflection point, to a change in technology, I think you get a lot of uncertainty. No one really knows which direction to go. If you ask people now where is their most important focus with technology, it's quite, you know, I think you get a lot of different answers. There's no real clarity. You know, mobile is well established. What's next? I think people really want to know what's next.
Related to that, what was the biggest issue you were encountering 5 years ago?
I think 5 years ago, it was actually bandwidth for mobile devices. Yeah. You know, we were designing sophisticated services when 3G wasn't well established, you know, when actually it was really expensive to get data into devices, and without that, the services that we were trying to design there or put out there, and maybe even the computational power of the devices themselves, the ability to display smooth animations and so on, wasn't as good as it is now. So we were kind of ahead of the technology curve of what we were trying to do. In a way, we're in a similar position now, but with a different platforms.
What's your take on the phrase Internet of Things? Positive, negative?
I think it's a phrase from a highly technological point of view. It's not just about things, of course, it's about people as well. And actually at Fjord, we've got our own version of it. We call it living services, and we feel this captures the idea much more holistically, because it's not just things connected together, it's people, environments, vehicles, you know, it's an orchestration of all these different things together. And to us, that means it's a living service, a service that can adapt and modify in real time to what an individual user might want.
Do you think that that term's just kind of an interim thing that will eventually just, it'll either be living services or just internet or something along those lines?
Probably. I think because it's novel, we need to label it, and then over time, as technology becomes normalized, you actually stop referring to it as anything. It's just part of the furniture.
Right.
You know, we don't marvel at the fact that you can pick up a device and talk to someone a long distance. You know, we don't talk about
Sure,
the wonder of telephony anymore.
Right,
It's there, like water, you know, like air. So yeah, I think we'll stop needing a label for it probably at some point.
Last question for you. What people or projects are you following these days?
Well, actually, it's one of your publications just recently come out by some very good friends of mine, Claire Rowland and Martin Charlier and others, designing connected devices. And I think it's a fantastic book. And it's great. There's a lot of people converging on this idea of how you design. Golden Krishna also wrote a book called No Interface a couple of years ago. It seems like there's quite a lot of people kind of heading in this direction, trying to define what this new territory is, and we're pleased to be part of that, I think.
Great. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.